Our top story this hour, U.S. and Russian officials have finished their Ukraine talks after roughly 4.5 hours in Saudi Arabia. The State Department says in a new readout that both parties agreed to appoint high-level teams for peace talks with the goal of reaching an agreement that both Ukraine and Russia can agree to. For the very latest, let's bring in NBC News Chief International Correspondent Keir Simmons live from the Saudi Arabian capital. Keir, what's the latest?
Well, this meeting took 4.5 hours. It wrapped up just a short while ago. I think headlines, as we unpick what happened so far, on the one hand, the Trump administration is not hurtling towards a summit between President Trump and President Putin anytime soon. That's not about to happen next week, for example. On the other hand, until now, as you know, Mika, Russia had been held in isolation by the West, including Europe and the US. The Trump administration just unpicked that isolation. So, as you mentioned, agreeing, according to Secretary of State Rubio, to have a high-level conversation about how to get to peace in Ukraine. Also talking about restoring missions on either side and talking about cooperation on a geopolitical and an economic level. Now, on an economic level is interesting because that would suggest that somewhere down the line, the Trump administration is saying it would be prepared to look at taking away or reducing those sanctions against Russia. Here at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Riyadh, we caught up with a man called Kirill Dmitriev, who is very close to President Putin. U.S. officials say that he and his wife are close with President Putin's daughter. He wasn't at the table, but he's been very much involved in these talks. We just spoke to him outside the Ritz-Carlton. Well, sum up the results of those negotiations.
I think positive dialogue, professional engagement. I think it's very important that two sides started to listen to each other. You know, dialogue and communication was completely broken during the Biden administration. So I think there is respectful dialogue, and that's very important. And frankly, when Russia and U.S. do not communicate, it puts the world in a very dangerous place.
It's clearly going to be a slow process.
It's a slow, difficult process.
No meeting between President Trump and President Putin anytime soon.
Well, I would say it's a long road ahead, many differences. We need to manage expectations. But this dialogue of two, strategic powers in the world is very important. And the world is a much safer place now when this dialogue started to happen. So we'll have to see how it evolves over time. But definitely a very positive start. And by the way, Saudi played a really key role in providing good opportunity for this dialogue.
One word, what is Russia going to compromise on? What will Russia
Again, I think it's too early to say.
And Joe, as I mentioned, we're just now really getting the readout from both sides on what happened in that room. I'm going to look down real quick because Foreign Minister Lavrov of Russia is giving a news conference now. Some of the things he's saying, we agree with Marco Rubio's words that countries should always prioritize their national interests. International interests don't always match, but when they match, it's important that countries use it to cooperate in various areas. Talking about swiftly finalizing ambassadors' appointments. I mean, there appear to have been a number of agreements. It was a 4.5-hour conversation, though not, of course, a ceasefire in Ukraine, right, in the next 24 hours, as President Trump has suggested during the election campaign.
Yeah, Keir, great reporting there and fascinating comments from Russia. I think most diplomats would agree that it is best when countries are talking. Obviously, after the Ukrainian invasion, Russia invading Ukraine, that wasn't something that the United States felt was possible. But two sides talking, Dr. Brzezinski would, time and again talk about the importance of people communicating it with each other. But if we can just explain the backdrop of this, the Wall Street Journal lays it out pretty well. Europe left out of talks obviously sounds alarm. All of this comes for those that are saying, well, why would anybody be so concerned about these talks? It comes against a backdrop not only of the Europeans, and the Ukrainians being left out of this, but obviously from European leadership still reeling from an address that J.D. Vance gave last week that the Wall Street Journal editorial page is even coming out expressing their concerns about.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, always sobering, isn't it, to think about what Mika's father would think looking on at the events here. Look, I will say that this is clearly a work in progress. I mean, this was a hurried together meeting, no doubt about that. A briefing from General Keith Kellogg, who of course is President Trump's envoy for Russia and Ukraine overnight. He says in that briefing that he's going to spend 3 days in Ukraine this week. He's going to go back multiple times, and that he's going to brief President Trump fully on the Ukrainian view. The Europeans weren't here. American officials, administration officials, making the point, well, you can't have every country at the table for every talk. The question, I think, in many ways now is looking forward what happens. I mean, it didn't bode well, I think, honestly, in Paris yesterday, that the Europeans couldn't even seem to decide what their strategy was if there was a ceasefire, whether they would put boots on the ground to try to support Ukraine's security. And you can imagine that's why in Kyiv they are so nervous about what the plans are in Washington. I do think what we have here now is a pause, a slowdown, an opportunity potentially for different sides, US allies, to have their say and have their influence, if you like. But one opinion that we haven't heard from yet, and frankly, it may be one of the, well, it frankly is one of the most important opinions in all of this, and that is from President Trump. What will he say on Truth Social? He's due to give a speech in Miami at the FII, which of course is a Saudi-backed conference. What will he say there? His Secretary of State, his National Security Advisor, his envoy Steve Witkoff are now, I should imagine, racing back to Washington to talk about what happened here. But you know, this is still very much a moving picture, a fragile picture, and I think there will be still many worried in Europe about what happens next, what steps happen next, and what the Russians have managed to achieve here.
All right, NBC's Keir Simmons, as always, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it.